Okay, so third grade. We've taken a little break from Fundations because we had testing. Well, I shouldn't say a break. We did do our contractions last week, but I want to do a very quick review because we're done with first quarter. So let me rephrase. We finished Fundations for first quarter. I want to do a review of Fundations for first quarter, what we've learned. Right now, I'd like you to think about everything you learned in Fundations so far this year. And if you have a piece of paper or something, you can jot it down, either dry erase or something. I'd like you right now to write down what we've covered so far in Fundations. I'm going to pause the video because I'm going to give you about 3 minutes to think about all of the new things we learned in third grade. We did do some review from second, but we learned some new things too. If you can only remember the review, fine, write down the review. If you can remember the new, great. Pause the video, we'll take some time, about 3 minutes. A closed syllable. So, a little one tap. Okay, so third grade, you took about 3 minutes. You wrote things down from Fundations from first quarter that you remembered. Now, remember, we started off as a review with the closed syllable. Remember, this is just one syllable, one vowel closed in, it can be closed in by multiple consonants, and it has a short vowel sound. So words like, see if you can think of the other ones. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds. Stretch. That would be a closed syllable. One syllable, one vowel closed in. Now, this has a CH digraph. It also has something new that we learned in third grade, which was the TCH digraph. So remember, we're kind of taking what you know and branching out to learn something else. So remember your digraphs, your WH, your SH, your TH, your CH, and then your CK. Remember that CK comes at the end, WH always at the beginning. So remember, if you have a word like bunch and there is a consonant before this ch sound, it's going to be a digraph. If you have a word like stitch, where it's a short vowel before that ch, you're going to have your trigraph. So the trigraph was something new. Did anyone have that written down on their paper as something new that they remembered that they learned so far in third grade? We reviewed our exceptions, our closed syllable exceptions, which were old, eind, olt. You're going to learn about the trigraph. So the trigraph is similar to the digraph. Eind, but in the digraph, okay, these are our closed syllable exceptions. So that was a review from second grade. Then we spent a lot of time on suffixes. 3 letters. So suffixes, actually you learned all of these suffixes in second grade. There were a lot of suffixes. Do you think you can name all of the 13 suffixes that we talk about in third grade? I'm going to pause the video. I want you to think of all of the suffixes that we've covered so far in third grade. There's a lot of them, and there's a lot of rules. They all have different meanings. There's a lot. But remember, we talked how you cannot speak or write or read books without suffixes. Take a minute. So as we go through these, as I list these suffixes, I'm going to list them as your vowel suffix and your consonant suffix. Because remember, that is really, really, really important when we start talking about our one-to-one-to-one rules. Okay. So, do you remember your vowel suffixes? A vowel suffix is a suffix that begins with a vowel. So, ed. Remember, what does ed do? It shows action in the past. You add ed to a verb to show action in the past. And remember, ed makes 3 sounds, right? id, and ed. Remember, we spent a lot of time on that. ER. ER is a comparative. You're comparing two things. He is quicker than she is. She is taller than he is. The giraffe is taller than an elephant. The elephant is heavier than a giraffe, right? Or it can mean someone who does. If I teach, I'm a teacher. If you jump, you're a jumper. If you run, you're a runner. ER. ING, action in the present time. He is running. Able, if you are able to do something. Or, for example, bendable, you're able to be bent. Dependable, I can depend on you. You are able to be depended on. Y, remember, Y is considered a vowel suffix. Remember what the Y does. Changes a noun to an adjective. So something that has a crunch becomes crunchy. EST, EST, it's a superlative. You're comparing, it's the best of something. The fastest runner, the highest jumper, the quickest car. So these are some of our vowel suffixes. Then we have our consonant suffixes. S, that makes a noun plural, more than one. Also, we need it when we have a subject-verb agreement with, for example, I run, he runs. I forgot to add ES over here to the vowel suffixes. That's very important because remember, we know if a word ends with CH, SH, X, S, or Z, we have to add ES, right? So boxes, we have to add ES. We have S, we have LY, we have full. If you're full of something, you're thankful. You have a lot to be thankful for. November is usually a month of gratitude because we have Thanksgiving, we have things to be thankful for. Less, and remember how you remember, there's less of something so it can fit the two S's. It's too full so it only fits one L. That's another consonant suffix. Ness, meant. Ish, pinkish, reddish, that comes over here to the vowel suffixes. So remember, we spent a lot of time on how these suffixes actually even change the word. We learned another new concept for third grade that you learned is you learned that if a word ends with an F or an FE, for example, in the word shelf, that F changes to a V and you add ES. So shelves becomes shelves. Elf becomes elves. Knife, now knife has an E at the end, an FE, but that's still, you change that F to make it knives. It's a lot. The other new thing we learned is remember the ah can sound like ah in the word. It makes this kind of sound. Wash or squash. So remember we learned that the A can make a closed syllable. You would think this would be wash, right? A, apple, wash. But we learned that when an A comes after a W or an QU, that it sometimes sounds like ah. Okay, so these are all things that we talked about. Next, we're going to talk about the one-to-one-to-one because that was a big thing for third grade. And then contractions. So see if you know, see if you remember before I start. What's a one-to-one-to-one? What's a contraction? Get that in your head. All right. So, closed syllables, digraphs, closed syllable exceptions, suffixes, all that stuff. Vowel suffixes, consonant suffixes. All of that then took us to the one-to-one-to-one words with the one-to-one-to-one rule. Did you remember what is a one-to-one-to-one word? It's got three parts. One syllable. One vowel. So far it looks like a closed syllable word, right? One syllable, one vowel. The only difference is a one-to-one-to-one has one consonant after the vowel. So a word like run, skip, those would be one-to-one-to-one words. A word like scratch, a word like stretch, sorry, third grade, that would not be a one-to-one-to-one because it has multiple consonants after the vowel. So what do you do with a one-to-one-to-one? Well, if you add a vowel suffix, you have to double the final consonant. So in the word skipping, if you want to say, he was skipping down the street, you have to double the P. Skipping, skipped. You have to double the P. Now, if you want to say she skips down the street, S is a consonant suffix. So if it's a consonant suffix, like an S, then you do not double that final consonant. You would just say skips. Do you remember that one-to-one-to-one? It's so important, so important. Then, the very last thing we did to end off first quarter were contractions. And remember, contractions are when you put two words together and some of the letters are dropped out and placed with an apostrophe. Remember, if you're doing the contraction didn't, not, like did not, didn't, remember it's apostrophe T. The apostrophe takes the place of the O, right? Did not becomes didn't. He's going, he is. Remember, if you would say he wouldn't go into the haunted house. She wouldn't go into the haunted house. Oh, wouldn't, or he didn't. How about this? He wouldn't. Remember, oh, you lucky duck. N and then apostrophe T. I've got something to share with you. I have. In this case, the H and the E are gone and replaced with the apostrophe. So third grade, this is what we've covered so far in first quarter of Foundation. It's a lot. It's a lot, and it's hard virtually. So I appreciate you watching these lessons and being an engaged learner. Now, the next video you watch, we're going to start our second quarter Foundations, and we're going to start with vowel consonant E.